Yo, what's poppin', it's Tommathan. We have the playoffs, so I'm here for a recap. And I'm going to do them a bit differently, maybe, a bit less nerd emoji, a bit more chill, hopefully like a bit more consumable, 10 minutes or so. We'll see how that goes when I get to the end. Anyway, starting off, the meta composition. Pretty much 99% Winston, Kiriko, Lucio, Sojourn, and Reaper. So we saw a little bit of variation, but I'll get to that when we get to it. Starting off with the Philadelphia Fusion against the London Spitfire, we have a 3-0 for London with a 2-0 on Li Zhang, a 3-2 on Ike, and a 3-2 on Root. Neither teams knew how to defend on either of these maps. It felt like they were just giving her. Philly oftentimes would cap with more time than London did on A, or even on C. They were keeping pace. They're pretty close, but they weren't able to close it out, and London were. So that's the main difference there. But before I get into anything else, let's look at who's playing. So we have MN3, Carpe, Belosria, AimGod, and Fixa. You'll notice maybe their MVP candidate Zest just isn't here. Just not here. You have Carpe on the Reaper. And I feel like, I don't know if that's because of the injury, if they just wanted to play Carpe, but I think Zest may have performed a lot better. We'll see. Maybe they just didn't get the scrim time. They're just running this. I don't know, but it's definitely a bit disappointing. I know Carpe is like, one of the OGs, but Zest has been too good and he should be here. And then on the other side, we see Backbone, Sparker, Hottie, Admiral, and Landon. No Con. That's the only really notable thing here. No Shax, but that's because Backbone's on the Reaper. So anyway, some things I want to talk about with these guys. First up, the root problem here about why Philly got 3-0. To me, Carpe on the Reaper was not performing very well. Hottie had way more space than Belosria did, just like an exorbitant amount more. And you can contribute that to like Backbone helping Belosria be cut down better or anything like that. But Carpe wasn't there for stopping Hottie anywhere. It felt like whenever Philly did get rolling on their offenses, he was there. Like Hottie was getting shut down because of Carpe largely. But when he wasn't there, he wasn't there. Whereas Backbone was pretty much always consistently there. Belosria didn't have as much space as he wanted, so he couldn't give as much to MN3. So Sparker had more room to cook, and like Sparker just kind of found better shots. He was able to sneak into better angles and things like that. So that always helped. And then there's the backline, right? AimGod did not have a good Kiriko performance to me. I don't think Landon had a specifically like good showing. He was just kind of there. He looks all right, solid, pretty much what you would expect from Landon. But AimGod, some pretty poor moments, specifically Eichenwald. As they were pushing in Eichenwald C, they pushed through that initial choke. He just, as soon as London reached that first corner, Kiriko ult down that choke onto the first corner. So what does London do? They immediately cut around the second corner because the Kiriko ult can't reach them. They don't get any value from it there, and they gain space, but not really any notable space. So they kite away. The ult gets nothing. They come back, and they just look better. This comp is a lot about the push and pull. You regress, you kite, you regress, you kite. And the better team ends up on top usually. Even if you regress first, if you kite first, it doesn't matter. It looks like the team that better utilizes their resources, whether it be their ultimates, their Kiriko TP, their Bell. Amp is a huge one in this meta. Anything like that comes out on top. And just misusing the best ult in the game right now, which is Kitsune Blossom in my opinion, it just spells disaster for your team. It just never works out. You're always playing on the back foot in that fight, and for the next future fights, it just doesn't work out. And that happened a few more times than I'd like to imagine. And it just didn't look great for AimGod. I don't really have any complaints about Fixa Admiral. It's hard to notice what exactly Lucio's doing in this meta other than like beat timings. They seemed all right to me. But that's the main stuff. Hottie had a lot more space than Belosria. Sparker could cook a lot better. Carpe did not pull through in that department. My MVP for this match going to be Backbone. I just think that the difference between him and Carpe, even if Sparker maybe had a bit of a flashier performance, the difference maker that Backbone had on the overall flow of this game was evident, and I thought he did great. Then we go to the Hangzhou Spark against the Shanghai Dragons, get a 3-0 for the Spark, 2-0 Oasis, 3-2 Kings Row, and a 4-3 Route 66. The big thing about these guys, first, we have Shy, Alfie, Super Rich, Teru, and Gushue for the side of the Spark, and then Lip, Fleta, Fate, Izayaki, Lige, Gon for the side of the Dragons. I don't know why Gushway's down here. Whatever. So it's great that we see Super Rich. If we didn't, I would have been distraught. Whoops, I clicked on him. Don't go. No. Damn. It's great that we see Super Rich. He needed to be played. It's great. Teru had the best Kiriko of the night. I know there's only 8 players, and we still haven't seen the 4 higher seeds. But Teru, to me, insane Kiriko gameplay. He was playing it not like anyone else. It's not like he was doing it better. He was doing it differently and better. The off angles he was taking, it was just insane. Because what it does is it forces Shanghai to either look at him and like they use the resources on him and he TPs away, or they run fast on the Gushwei and they try and catch him off guard there. But if Teru recognizes that, or if Gushwei calls it, the team synergy is good enough. Teru will TP back. He can place down the bell and they can take that brawl. It's just great work because he finds value no matter what, and he was finding insane picks, just like more than any other Kiriko. Lip, suddenly Lip is dead. Teru found a kill on Lip. Teru found a kill on Izuyaki. It was just great. So mad props to Teru. By far my favorite Kiriko right now. We'll see if that keeps up as we move on into the like next sort of matches tomorrow and throughout this week. Alpha is back on the Reaper. Sure, I mean it's Reaper. He played it pretty well. But you know who didn't play it well before I get into the monstrous battle that is Shy and Lip? Fleta. Fleta did not look great on the Reaper, following his fellow Season 1 veteran Carpe right away. The Reaper play wasn't as deep for Fleta. Gushwei looked much better than Fate, and I don't think Gushwei is a super significantly better Winston player than Fate. I do think he's better, but it was like a monstrous difference. He was getting way more value with his primals. There were times where he'd trade 2-for-1 with a primal, which is probably pretty worth, especially if you can back it up with a beat to stabilize. And Fate just didn't have that same level. And I don't know, again, it's similar to the last one with Potty and with Hottie and Belosria. I don't know if you want to contribute that to the Winston gameplay or the fact that Fleta's Reaper was not up to par with Alpha Y's. Alpha Y's was pretty significantly better and was pretty noticeable. Again, the Lucio's not paying too much attention to either of them, but they both seemed fine to me. There are some Lucios today that I have some question marks with, but those two look pretty good. Looking at the time right now, my 10-minute thought process is not going to get there, but that's fine. This is still more chill. I'm still chilling. So the Reaper Winston duel, they seem interlocked. If you have the better Reaper, you'll have the better Winston, is what it feels like to me right now. And then we get the monstrous battle between Shy and Lip. Lip was there, and Lip was getting hard focused this entire game. You would get Gushwei jumping on him. Teru was constantly shooting at him. Super Rich would go on him when he had to. It was a lot of focus on the Lip because that makes a lot of sense. He's their shooter. He's their main guy. As soon as Lip falls, all of Shanghai crumble every single time. And Shy was able to find huge picks on Lip, not every fight. They were going pretty even, but Shy was able to find them into big fights, 99, 99 on Oasis fights, stuff like that. And it was great. It was great stuff from Shy, proving not that he's the better Sojourn, but proving that he's, at the same caliber as Lip, right with him. He did have better stats overall, but of course he did. He was on the winning side in a stomp, right? Not like it wasn't like this was not close at all. Route 66 was pretty close. But he was the better player today in terms of space, and because Gushwei was making better space too. Spark looked very dangerous. However, I will take a look at this. They did get picked by Dallas first. Dallas had the first pick, and they went with the Spark. They looked like the scariest team to me. I don't know if this is like get rid of your scary demons first or something like that, but insane to me there. I'll talk a bit more about that at the end. But yeah, so that's going to be Spark Dragons. Pretty big battle. Then we have Florida, Atlanta. This was just kind of this was a very hard roll. Florida looked extremely scary as well. This was just a complete roll. Florida 2-0 on Lijiang, 3-2 on Kings Row, 4-3 on Junkertown. And this is where we get some funky stuff going on. So first up, you have I fucked it up. You have Hydron checkmate. Oh, I hit the button. No, don't go to Kai. Bruh. Work in progress on this team. Work in progress. So Hydron checkmate someone Anima Rupel. Surma Jed does come in after map 1 against Kai, Speedily, Hawk, UV, and OG. And then Nero would come in after map 1 also. So Hydron definitely diffed Kai in this situation. Kai's playstyle has been the same this whole season. He doesn't take as many flanks. He was taking more risks, I noticed, I think. Or maybe this was just because they were getting kind of stomped. He was taking more risk than normal. So shout out to Kai for that. But Hydron had the better stats. He had the better initial picks. He had the better ending picks. Hydron looks like a demon, and it looks like he's never stopping. Someone looked extremely good on the Winston. Hawk definitely looked a bit uncomfortable, but that's why they actually roll out on a bit of a different composition. We saw a bit of Arisa Gaming. We saw so he starts off on the Arisa Gaming. Doesn't really work out too well, if I remember correctly. Hold on. I do have notes still. Sorry about this. This is a little troll. So starting off on Night Market, they do actually roll out on the mirrors, but it's just Hydron doing a lot of work. Night Market was like 100 to 75. And it was mostly Hydron was doing a lot. But Hawk did look a bit uncomfortable on the Winston at times. So they roll out on Gardens with a Bastion and a Reinhardt. Yes, you heard that correctly. They're running Bastion Reinhardt, and it was working. Bastion would set up, he'd force a lot back, and then Florida needs to go in as soon as that cooldown's up, and he can't go into that turret mode, but they didn't. Because Checkmate wasn't actually, like, Checkmate ends up dying, so they don't have that Reaper to run at them, and they end up holding the point, and they hold it for a long time. Because the Bastion is exerting so much pressure, especially whenever they get that early Kitsune rush on them. Doesn't work out. However, crucial mistake from Hawk. He ends up dying, and he comes back fast on Doomfist. They end up winning the fight, but he comes back fast on Doomfist. So what happens? Actually, I already misspoke a bit because someone actually went to Orisa. This is why the Orisa gaming comes in. This is where I come in earlier with that. Someone's on the Orisa after one fight. But anyway, Hawk comes back on the Doomfist, right? And they win the fight, but this means that there's no shield for Bastion. And the next fight they come through, they just lose. There's no shield. He can't hide. Nothing can happen. The Doomfist doesn't do a lot, especially into the Orisa, and they lose. And then there's some pretty sloppy usage of some ultimates. You get a Kitsune rush fight right after. Someone ends up getting a javelin spin and getting someone off the map. I forget who he got off the map, but I think it was probably, if I was to guess, it was Speedily or Kai, someone like that. Sorry, I don't remember. Anyway, he gets them off the map. The Kitsune rush goes a little too deep because Kai, it was Speedily, I think. And Kai's not able to capitalize on it because he TPs in, drops the rush, and Kai's still back on the bridge. So he's not actually benefiting from this Kitsune rush. And they just kind of fumble from there. And they just never get back on top. Florida just kind of holds strong with the Orisa, which looks pretty good. There's a couple times where Orisa was played, and it just genuinely looked good. Hydron had a 73% charge shot accuracy on this Legion. So pretty good from him there. Then we get, the other maps. And the big thing now, push and pull. I want to talk about the push and pull factor. Florida, they aggress in. Atlanta back out. Atlanta aggress in. Florida back out. And then Florida will go back in. And that was happening so much. And Florida was on top every single time. They'd aggress, kite, and then they'd aggress even further, right? Like, let's say you're on King's Row C. Atlanta's attacking. Florida can push in around that corner, the first corner on C. Atlanta back up. Then they come through, and then Florida pushed them all the way to their spawn door. And it happened multiple times. Florida would end up at the spawn door, win the fight, reset. It was so good. They have it down pat. It's just immaculate work. Hawk tried to go to the Orisa a bit. Didn't really work out much. I see it sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, it makes sense here. You can't really run at the Orisa. It just kind of exists. But like the Winston just stops the Kiriko from doing so much. I don't know if it's going to stick to a lot of teams that actually have good Winston players. I understand for Hawk doing it. Definitely not as good as someone here, but damn. Some work being done there. And then on that final Junkertown 4-3, like they do end up capping a bit, but it's still Florida winning in the end. Hydron, every time both teams would hold close on that original door. My time limit's way out of whack. I'll fix it for next episode. Next episode tomorrow, whatever it is. I'll fix it then. I'll be a bit more coordinated because I just kind of thought about doing this on the spot. So anyway, enough about that. Initially here, they both hold on that close right immediately on Junkertown. Hydron, both times on Florida's offense, swaps Widow, gets a pick, and they just got rolling. And it's crazy that it happens one time, sure. Happens again? Come on, boys. It literally just happened to you. How do you forget? How do you forget about that? In like extra rounds, you can. Atlanta kind of hold on for a bit at the end, and they're on their final defense, and Hawk goes over to the Doomfist, but then like they win that fight, and then they lose the next one because your Doomfist can't do anything into actual fights. To engage a fight, he can't engage, he can't disengage, especially whenever he has to stay on the cart. It was just not great. And then finally, this one went a long time because we have the Toronto Defiant against the Houston Outlaws, and this team's not good. Let me tell you what. Toronto Defiant do not look good. 3-0 for Houston, 2-0 on Busan, 5-4 on Paraiso, and 3-2 on Dorado, but it was not great. So Toronto playing Hisu Finale, Muse Charong, Twilight. Houston playing Merit, Pelican, Dante, Lastra, Creative. They come out, Mecha Base, Orisa, Baptiste. And you know what? It works out in the end. Toronto, they overstep a bit. There's a time where Twilight, he's in the backline kind of doing the Teru thing. He's in the backline, he's chilling. He gets a pick on the Pelican, all is good. He's overstays his welcome and not in terms of dying. He doesn't die. But what happens is they decide, oh, well, let's just run at Muse. And they do. They kill him. Twilight TPs to the wrong person, doesn't get the bell off. Muse ends up dying. He just was trying to kill Lastro. He was tunnel visioning on the Lastro. So they ended up losing what was a 4x5 and a great play by Twilight, but it wasn't there. And it was just awful. From there, they have sloppy use of their ults. Hisu gets picked off early a lot of the time. The beats, they lose one and they decide, oh, okay, we'll 4v5 beat this. Sure, why not? I don't know. It's rough. It's rough. All my fears are true. I said going into this on the podcast, I was like, or on the round table, the Toronto thing that we do after every stage, I was like, Finale needs to step up. Finale Reaper was awful. He got one Blossom kill through 2 maps, I believe, and it was just not good. Dante didn't look great on Winston, right? But Muse did not diff him, but by any means. Pelican was looking great on the Reaper. He was getting good kills, comboing with the Kitsune, all that stuff. Finale, nah. Dante was able to perform at the same level as Muse on Monkey. That's just not how it should go. He didn't look spectacular. Muse didn't look great either. He needed to step up, just wasn't there. The ultimate usage from the backline of Charong and Twilight was not good. There were times on Dorado where you'd get a overclock from Merit. Overclock comes out from Merit. Charong just doesn't beat. Merit kills 2. It's final fight. They're going into the final fight now to win the series. He beats a Kitsune Rush and a Blossom, but it doesn't win because Kitsune Rush lasts hella long. They can wait it out. Blossom after. It just made no sense. You had to win that other fight. There were times where you had an ult advantage. Houston wouldn't have a single ult, and you use both Overclock and Kitsune Rush. What are you doing there? Why do you need both of those? You didn't need both of those. Just Kitsune Rush them if you want. Just Overclock them if you want. Who knows? Using both of them was absolutely troll. They lose the next fight immediately. It was just not great. They don't seem to have an idea of how to rotate anything in this meta. And the individual performances weren't great either. Now, on Dorado, on the defense, Finale did play a bit of Tracer. I thought he did more than he did the entire other time on Reaper. But it's not sustainable because there's just not enough time for Tracer to hang around and really mess with the backline. Especially with how much one-shots are going around. Kiriko can headshot melee to kill. A lot of that stuff. Toronto don't look good. They look like the worst team by a lot. Houston don't look particularly good either, but it's whatever. They were good enough to get the job done. Merit looks great. Pelican looks great. Last round creative looked pretty good. I don't know. The backline looked good mechanically, but the ultimates were not great for Toronto. Very disappointing team to watch. Anyway, going into tomorrow, the upper seeds got the pick. Dallas picked Spark first. Shock picked Houston next. Glads picked London, and Seoul got stuck with Florida. So Spark against Dallas is going to be one to watch. I think Spark or Florida were the 2 teams that looked the best to me. I thought Spark were really good. They beat Shanghai, so I don't know. Maybe this is Scrimbox. Who knows? I think Dallas picking Spark might be kind of troll. I could see some upset potential there, but Dallas are probably really confident if they're going to pick Spark. Then Houston makes a lot of sense. Dante does not look spectacular at all. So this makes a lot of sense to me. The London pick makes sense because Florida looks damn scary. They look like they have a really good handle on the meta. And Seoul, Florida is going to be a really scary match. And then you can see down below who ends up playing. Toronto get Dallas Spark. Florida, Seoul against Atlanta. This kind of stuff. That'll be in 2 days from now. Anyway, let me know what you think is going to go on. Maybe I'll do some quick preds. I think Dallas should win. Seoul should win. This map's going to be not great. I'll give it a shock, and I'll give this one the Glad. So just no surprises, really. I think Florida could give Seoul a run for their money, which might be kind of scary, but we'll see. Anyway, this is way longer than I thought it would be. We'll see. Let me know if you like this format, like this video, subscribe, all that. Leave a comment down below your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching, and have yourself a damn good one. Deuces.